So as of now, we have gone through, the HDFS basics. We have gone through the basics of MapReduce, and we have set up the pseudonode cluster as of now, right? And this is how it looks like. So we have Ambari and HDFS user, since we have installed HDFS. Okay, so let me start this cluster, and I will show you that how to add one more node into the existing one. Okay, because since we always work on the group of machines, like the cluster, so the the hardware that we do have on our machine is not that much, so that we can create, like, more nodes into it. So what we can do is, like, we can we have created one pseudonode cluster, and we will try to add one more node into it. And whatever process that we see, basically, like what is the process to add the node into the existing cluster, the same process can be done on adding thousands of nodes. Okay, so there is not much difference in that. Okay, and once we do that, basically we will see that, how you can increase the capacity of your cluster. Okay, so so for that, what I have done is, I have prepared one machine, slave. This is plain machine, so this is just the new machine that I have made, and its name is slave.cluster.com. okay, and it is just fresh machine, so we did not set up anything yet. So we will connect to it, and then try to make it ready for adding it to the cluster. So currently we have one node cluster, that is pseudonode cluster. We will add one more node into our existing pseudonode cluster in order to make it two node cluster. Okay, so at least to work with all the replication factor and high availability and everything, you require at least 3 nodes in your cluster. Okay, so in production, basically you may see around 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 500, depending on the overall workflow or use cases and the size of data that you are handling on that. So this machine is here. Let me just go and check about it. So this is a slave machine. If you go and say go on setting and say network, try to add. So currently it is only only one adapter it is showing. So let me just make it off and try to add two adapters into it, so that we will have one net through which we can get the internet access, and one host only, so that we can have a static IP to it as well. Okay, so in master we do have a static IP. Okay, and we also have a net, so that we can ping to the Google, right? So this is already working on master. Again, it's perfectly set. So let me just start the Ambari server here. Sudo service Ambari server restart. I guess it will be started. By then we will prepare our next machine called slave machine. I'm going into the setting, selecting the network, and let's say this first one I want to make it to be host only adapter, and the second one I am going to make it net adapter. Okay, and once this is done, let's start it. Okay, so once it is started, basically we need to set up all this configuration from here. Again, we need to make all the IP tables, IP6 tables off, so that it does not stop any traffic. Okay, or it does not stop scanning any port. So we need to make those off. Then we need to off the Linux, so we need to disable it, and then few more regular things. So we will do that once the machine comes up. So let me just check if our Ambari is running well. Okay, so the Ambari server is coming up. I'll just check its status. Netstat -nltp grep 8080. it's not yet come. Okay, so it takes some time, and then it start listening on port 8080. So now our Ambari server is listening on port 8080. We just need to start the services. So we just need to check that, suppose, the addition of the node into the running cluster. So that is what is the beauty of Hadoop. Okay, it means that your services are still running, everything is up and running, and all the users are accessing your Hadoop cluster, Hadoop services, and while they do that, you are able to add the new nodes into your cluster and allow them to service the users. So there is no downtime as of now. There is no downtime that requires while adding the node into your running cluster. I have config, so this is our IP address. So give admin. Okay, so our this slave node machine also comes up. So what we'll do is, let me log into this one using root user, password is my name, Miman. So once we go in, we need to set up our networking so that we will be able to get the internet access as well as static IP address on this machine. And once we do that, basically we may need to further set up the configuration files in order to make it ready to get added into the cluster. So let me open into the terminal. Currently it shows you I have config. So ETH0, ETH1 has come. So I think as soon as you get this, you should be able to get the internet access. So it is working. What we need to set is this ETH0, and we need to give a static IP address. So our master's IP address is 192.168.0.131. We will give it to 192.168.0.132. Okay, so to make that, what we need to do is we need to go into sudo cd/etc sysconfig network scripts. This is the directory. You will find ifcfgeth0. Okay, so this is this one file. So this is the configuration for ETH0 network card, which we have configured as to be the host only network. Okay, so open it. Sudo vi/ifcfg ETH0 and remove this one, and do some more changes like on boot. Yes, so as soon as our system gets restarted, it should get its IP address. Then it is not going to be controlled by a network manager, it should be controlled by network only. So I'm saying no. Instead of DHCP, that is, it is not getting the dynamic IP address, it should get static. So I'm making it to be static. Then IP ADDR, this is the IP address I'm trying to assign 192.168.56, because it is going to be assigned by the VirtualBox host only adapter. So it is started with 192.168.56, and let me give it to be 132. Okay, and then net mask should be 255.255.255.0. Done. So as soon as you enter it, just do sudo service network restart and try to check if it gets IP address of 132. So do I have config? And yes, we have got it. Now we should be able to connect to it, okay, by putty. So go here, open the putty session and open it. So it should ask you to cache its public key for our putty. Do root command. Okay, so this is now our slave machine. So do you see here it is coming as a slave. So let me just make it more visible. and change the color so that we know where we are working. Okay, so this is our. Now if you check sudo service IP tables, it should be running because we did not yet set up. So I will say sudo service IP tables status. Currently it is running. It shows you that it is listening on some certain things. So let me do this configuration there as well really quickly. So sudo service network on. This all we already know. So let me just copy and paste. So this is done. Then we need to go into say Linux and make it disabled. So copy this. It is disabled. Then again check this happiness. Go to bottom and put this configuration. Let me just verify it. Yes, it is okay. And run this on command. Then go to THP, that is transparent use pages settings, and put this over there. Save it. Okay, now the very important thing is via etc host. Okay, so this is the file where we need to have the IP address of both the machines. Okay, so the rule is when you have thousands of machines right in your cluster, each machine's etc hosts should have the entry of remaining plus including itself to be present into the etc host file so that they all will be visible to each other. Okay, currently if I try to ping if I ping IP address, it should ping 192.168.56.132 because they are on the same bridge. This is my master's IP address, right? And this is my slave's IP address. So if you are trying to identify the machines with their IP address and trying to ping them, yes, they will ping. But what is the name of my master machine? It is master. It is not going to ping, or it is master2.cluster.com. That is the domain name of my master machine. It is not going to ping because it is not yet added into the etc host file of our slave node. So what you need to do is vi/etc hosts, and we need to create two entries over here. One is 192.168.56.131. It is going to be master2.cluster.com, and the name should be master2. And the second entry is 192.168.56.132. This is going to be our slave.cluster.com, and name is slave itself. Okay, so these entries needs to be identical on every machine. So if it is having 1000 entries, yes, you need to have 1000 entries if you are having 1000 clusters, 1000 nodes in your cluster, and each etc host should have those 1000 entries in their machine so that they're all visible to each other over the same network, and they must be on the same network, right? Because if you see this is our network ID, and it is like the network part of our IP address is same for all the machines. So let me save it, and now if I do ping master2, it should start pinging to the IP address. Same thing we need to do on the master side. Sudo. Okay, so let me just restart all the services since we have got it. So slave is as of now it's not the part of our cluster. Okay, so once we do changes, let's restart it one time because we have changed some of the basic configuration files. So I will say sudo. Okay, do one more thing, and that is what is called the SSH, passwordless SSH between master to slave. Why it is required? Because on our master 2 machine over here we have installed our Ambari server, and Ambari server daemon requires the passwordless SSH for the root user, or whichever user you are trying to make to be the super user of your overall Hadoop system. So for that particular user, that user should be able to log into the other machine without providing any password, and that is what is called passwordless SSH. So we had set it up while we were setting our master machine itself. Okay, so what you just need to do is, if you go to this particular directory called SSH here, so you will see that this is the private key for the root user, this is the public key for the root user, this is the known host. So basically you will find the entry whenever it is going to connect to some different. So if I do SSH to slave, it will add that slave entry over here in the known hosts. Okay, and then there is authorized key. So authorized keys, if you put the public key in the authorized keys folder, to log into that particular machine we don't require a password. Okay, so what we will do is basically we will try to copy this public key from the Ambari server host into the authorized keys folder of our slave, so that a passwordless SSH can be built. So currently there is no authorized one, so what I will do is I will just create a sudo. There are multiple ways, so let me just tell you the regular way what generally can be done. So you need to do SSH copy ID, then -i SSH copy ID, -i SSH idrsa.pub into slave machine. So what we need to add here, right? So we did not change our etc host file on our master, so let me first made the entry into that etc host file. So currently we have only master 2's entry, so we may need to give it 192.168.56.132 slave dot cluster.com and slave, right? So this is the second entry, that is the new machine that we are going to add into our cluster. Okay, now run that command called SSH copy ID -i. Now this is the thing, SSH in our etc host. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Cluster. So copy SSH idrsa.pub and put machine as slave. So it will add the entry into the known host of our file, and then it will copy into the. So we need to give the password once. I have given it. Now if you see here, the authorized key is automatically being created. Okay, so in this, the public key of our Ambari hosts, Ambari host machine has come. Okay, so it was not there. It has just created after we ran this command. Okay, so it is actually copied the public key into the authorized keys of the destination machine. Okay, now if you do SSH on slave, it won't ask you the password at all. Okay, if you don't have this setup, every time when you try to log into the slave machine, it will ask the password from you. Currently we are on slave. Okay, so this is done. This is the setup that is required for passwordless SSH. Now you just need to verify one more thing, that is host name. It is appearing perfectly. So just check if it is appearing properly in sysconfig network, and yes. Okay, so let me just do restart of this machines. So it will come in a minute. By now we should have all the services up and running. Okay, so this is our, we have only HDFS and Zookeeper, that is very basics. Those are very basic services. And if you go to host, we are only having only master2.cluster.com. Okay, so we want to have slave.cluster.com also to be added into it. Okay, that is how we will aid the machine. So basically, if you see, our infrastructure is running. Okay, so the user from the backend will still be able to run HDFS user HDFS command, and they will do all the file level operations. Okay, and while they are doing this, okay, during that time also we can just aid the host dynamically. It means that there is no downtime of this cluster at all, no matter if you are adding thousands of nodes at time. Okay, even if you try to remove something, again there is no downtime at all. Okay, you just need to so aiding is of course do not have any downtime, but then again when you talk about the removal, basically you may need to remove some services from that particular node, then stop those services might be. So then for some of the services you may have downtime, but addition is, and that is the beauty basically. I mean, you never have seen any infrastructure where you are adding more and more pieces of things to the existing running thing, and you always might see some downtime for some of those services. So let me just check if it comes. Root. Okay, so the machine is ready. Okay, we have done everything. Now what we need to do is go to host and go to actions and say all hosts to add host. So add new hosts, and here you need to do slave.cluster.com, right? So this is the new machine that we are going to add into our existing cluster, and we just need to provide the private key of our SSH. Okay, so do cd SSH, and this is our private key. Just copy this, get on it, and copy it and paste so that our Ambari server host can log into Slave machine. Okay, so I'm just copying, pasting here. Root 22 is okay. This is the user that we are using in order to install all the services on slave.cluster.com, and this is the port where it is going to connect. So do register and confirm. So it is success. So it will just check some background configuration. If they all look well, basically we will move ahead. So basically it is going to check transparent huge pages and swappiness and some more like NTPD on or not, HTTPD is down, whatever. I mean, so there are some basic checks. You can once it finishes that checks, you can just see the list of checks that it has performed, and how many of them are successful, how many of them are in warning, and how many of them are in error. So most of the times, like since we have already done those kind of configuration changes, it should be all fine. Okay, now just do click here and you will see some transparency which is warning. That is okay. Rest everything is green check, so we are all good. So do next. And what do you want? So currently we have only HDFS, right, installed. So whatever services that you have installed on your cluster, for some part of those like clients or their slave part, like we do have name node as a master and data node as a slave, so it will give you all that kind of stuff. So currently we will select data node so that we will have one more data node to be added into our cluster, and client we don't require because we already have those clients in our master. Since we are connecting, we will use master machine in order to just run all the commands, so we require all the clients to be on master. So in actual production, you will have an edge node, in that all the clients will be installed on edge node. Okay, not the regular services, only clients. Okay, and that edge node is the part of your production cluster itself that is managed by the Ambari itself. Okay, so just like suppose if this machine you are adding it to be as an edge node. Okay, so don't install data node at all, just install client and it will be good. So it is, this particular machine is still managed by the Ambari and you have only clients on that machine, so that you can just communicate with your remaining cluster through this edge node. Okay, so in production what will happen is one or two edge nodes mostly will be there. Okay, depending on the size of cluster. Let's say suppose if you are having 50 nodes, 2 or 3 edge nodes might be there, and all the users of your production server will be given the access to the edge node only. Okay, and they will log into the edge node. All the authentication, all the authorization will be done on edge node itself, and through edge node only they will start firing commands like Hadoop FS minus ls or yarn, or whatever they want to perform, they need to perform through edge node only. They do not have the direct access to all the master machines or the slave machines in your cluster, and that is the best way, so that you can put the security in a very proper manner. Okay, if you are giving the access of the users to different machines, or all the master machines or all the slave machines individually, basically it is very difficult for you to manage the security on the top of it. Okay, so restrict the user access only to the edge node, and then from there only just authenticate them, and then give them the access for the different services if they really require. Okay, so that way the security can be built very very in a very awesome way. Okay, so let me add the data node into it. Okay, and make it a complete data node. So let me do next. Again, HDFS Zookeeper, just do default and deploy it. So it will install data node and whatever required services. Okay, and once it is done, basically it will be the part of our cluster, and you see that still we can run the Hadoop FS minus ls from the backend. That tells us that our HDFS service is still running and we are accessing it. We can access it, we can do copy, we can do whatever. There is no downtime at all to the Hadoop service. Okay, so see, we are able to get everything. So let this installation complete. It takes few minutes, and once this is completed, it will be automatically added into our pseudo node. So from one node, or you can say from pseudo node cluster, we have now added one more node, and we are now at least 2 node cluster, and that is what actually the machine. If you try to really do more, go to Google Cloud, create your own $300 free account there. Okay, so currently I could have shown you there. You can create as many nodes you want. Okay, let's say 16 GB and 2 cores for each machine. You can create 4 or 5 nodes of cluster and then do real practice over there. Okay, but the step would be similar. Okay. Okay, now you see that the installation of the basic services are done on our slave node. Just do next, and it will. So the cluster consists 2 hosts. It is now telling you the summary. Install and started services successfully on new host, and installing, so it all being taken care by the ambari itself. Do complete, and you will, when you refresh this, or come to the list of hosts, you will find that there are 2 hosts now, master 2 and slave 1. Okay, so you can do the same steps and add thousands of nodes on your running Hadoop infrastructure without any problem. Okay, so mandatory things are like some checks that we already need to do is basically we already seen that, right? So we need to, there are some mandatory things like etc host file, that is very very important. You should not miss any entry in any of the etc host file on entire cluster. So all the machines should have the identical etc host file and should have the entries from all the machines. Okay, and then the regular setup that we have done for each of these machines. Okay, and then the third one is the SSH setup, passwordless SSH setup for having the passwordless SSH for the root user, and that's it.